Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane Master of Propaganda, hero of the Reich, defender of the fatherland, and the guy who's casting you all of these wonderful games. It's time for another, yes indeed, Propagandacast, as you probably already guessed. That's why you're here. You're not here to listen to something else. So, a 1 versus 1, it shall be today, yes indeed, and it shall be a Langre-tastic match on Langre, yes indeed. I've been searching far and wide in all those replays I keep on getting. I get a lot of varied games, of course, some of them, in fact quite a few of them, sort of more suited towards, well, you know, mundane novice fights, but of course some are still good, and I'm sort of lacking in higher level games, but of course, you know, you get what you get, and then I do what I can with what I have. Sadly, I'm no conjurer, I cannot magic up games. But nonetheless, let us get on with this. And of course, Langre sort of divided in nice sections right here in the west and in the east. Some open parts of it. In fact, it's largely open, but there are some structures right here and here providing some sort of anchor points for any defenses. Some maneuvers for sort of sneaking about, because again, they do also provide sort of blocking posts for any sort of fire, of course, meaning you can't fire through them, which of course means your opponent can't sneak through. Same applies to bocage. And of course, these buildings can of course then sort of be circumvented through this bocage, be snuck up on or grenaded and all that. So of course that is a bit more tricky, though you usually don't see these buildings used that much, although this barn can in fact cover this area with an MG42 or a 30 caliber, so that's nice to know. Same sort of applies for this area. No buildings can cover actually this victory point, though. Vital to keep in mind, I think. Phew. And of course, nice division of resources, but let's go have a look at our players. In the northern corner, we are seeing a trio of the 17th SS Panzergrenadier Division. Not a lot of SS divisions right there over in the American sector, at least not until later on when things were going wrong and they were forced over there. And after they'd been pulled out of the British sector, the 17th SS were the ones to fight there for the most part. And opposing them shall be Brutal Bisamrat, some sort of rat, I believe. Fighting for the 4th Infantry Division with his engineers with their grease guns. Ready to fight for Uncle Sam and fight the Krauts. The Hun. I believe that was more of a British term. Barracks going up there. So nothing highly unusual there. What will be going on the other hand from a trio with the Kettenkraut. Yes indeed, not a Schwimmwagen but a Kettenkraut. Panzer Grenadiers on the way. 2 Panzer Grenadiers start. Good usage, and already there we are seeing that he's chosen his doctrine. Within 30 seconds he's gone Luftwaffe. And of course, for those that are a bit new to this, you can spot on the Kettenkraut if it's gone a doctrine, in fact, by noticing the rear. Let's just briefly pause for this. Wait a minute. Hang on. Yes, he has gone Luftwaffe, but usually you'd be able to see that it's a sort of a camouflage pattern right there on the rear. But this time apparently not. I have been deceived, or something's gone wrong. Could be due to the skins, actually, come to think of it. Rats. Nonetheless, you should normally be able to see that, but apparently not with these skins. Although you'll still see if he's gone scorched earth or changed, in which case there'll be some junk or gear on it, like some demolition charges or repair equipment. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Strategic point secured. Engineers heading westwards, eastwards, securing fuel points. So we might be seeing some Browning automatic rifles or an attempt at armored cars. Gewehr 43s being equipped for some of the Panzer Grenadiers. And engineers heading straight for the next fuel point, while riflemen are moving into the connecting strategic point. Of course, the engineers will find themselves faced with a Kettenkraut. A second Kettenkraut on the way after the 2 Panzer Grenadier teams. That's a bit more of an expansive start from our friend Atreyu, who's sending all Panzer Grenadiers towards the center of his territory and not engage the enemy. Again, Panzer Grenadiers are not the best troops to sort of be seizing territory with. They're actually somewhat slow compared to, say, Pioneers, which are the sort of regular chaps to do such a thing, as an example. So not really the best chaps for it. And a 3rd Panzer Grenadier team on the way. Panzer Grenadiers reacting to the engineers trying to seize the fuel point away from the 17th SS and are moving in to intercept and put a bullet between their eyes. Good move right there. And meanwhile, engineers and riflemen heading towards the east. Panzer Grenadiers moving in. Engineers have managed to render the point neutral, but they are forced to retreat in the face of the Panzer Grenadiere. And looks like a jeep has been made ready by Brutal Bisamrat. Could be used to sort of deal with the Kettenkraut, of course will be having a bit of trouble Not just fighting it, of course, but also getting away from it, since the Jeep can, of course, move quite a bit faster than, say, your typical rifleman. And, of course, it can just be a nuisance against Panzer Grenadiers. In fact, with a bit of riflemen for it to support, it can actually get off a few good kills. Do not underestimate the Jeep in the fighting position. Of course, you shouldn't really rely on it, but it can do some good if handled properly. The Panzer Grenadier team ready, but apparently waiting for something. Atreo, what are you up to? Panzer Grenadiers sort of mucking about, not entirely sure what to do. Riflemen heading westwards. And engineers standing about doing absolutely nothing. Actually, that's a bit odd. That's not what you want to do generally. And Atreya seems also a bit reluctant to sort of act. I do believe he's a level 10 Panzer League commander. Riflemen heading outwards, another team. Engineers also heading westwards. There's absolutely no support for this Jeep. That seems to be a bit of a miscalculation on the behalf of Brutal Bisamrat, rather than charging through against those Panzer Grenadiers. And there we go, a building going up in the base of Atreya and the 17th SS, the Logistik Compagnie. So either he's going straight for the armored cars or something else, or he's wanting scout cars. Time will tell. Time will tell, but looks like the riflemen are getting ready for an assault just as the Panzer Grenadiers are seizing this strategic point, of course, thus rendering the Americans unable to actually get that fuel. Sneaky that. And there we go, riflemen charging ahead, Panzer Grenadiers firing away. Other chaps need to stop seizing the point and get into heavy cover. Heavy cover, please, if you'd be so kind. And there we go, scout cars on the way. Panzer Grenadiers getting awfully shot up. The riflemen have gotten too close. And now the Jeeps are moving in as well. Panzer Grenadiers need to retreat. Retreat, Atreya, there we go. One man left. Other team retreating as well. Other Panzer Grenadiers ready. And the Panzer Grenadier team is lost. Quite tragic. Not really good. Then again, sometimes you need to know when to retreat and get out of there. And usually the key is, when you're dealing with Panzer Grenadiers, get out of there when you have two left. I mean, one man is down. Try to get out of there in most cases. Kettenkrad getting shot up. Oh dear, Atreya, try to get that out of there at least, please. Apparently not. Bit too late there. And Veterans who won right away for the riflemen, of course. 4 kills with Panzer Grenadiers, and you're going to get veterancy. But there we go, scout car ready. No replacement Panzer Grenadiers on the way. And these chaps need to evacuate as well. Further Gewehr 43 being equipped. Scout car Sonderkraftfahrzeug 221 on the move to the rescue. Opening up on the Jeep with its light machine gun. Able to do a bit more damage than your infantry half-track, but as you might have noticed, the small turret right there is rather slow to turn about, and of course it is a bit vulnerable as well. Plus your Panzer Grenadiers can't reinforce near it. Panzer Grenadiers advancing. Only 2 men though need to get out of there. Scout car moving about, forcing the riflemen out of the cover. But the scout car needs to get away, and Luftwaffe troops being called in, apparently calling in from some Luftwaffe security unit probably. Slightly trained, although not elite troops. Riflemen standing out in the open, getting shot down. Not too well happy with that result. And a second scout car, apparently. That's a bit more of an unusual maneuver, not the one I'd necessarily recommend, though. Kettenkrad cloaking up. Good move. Second scout car with a logistic upgrade. Panzer Grenadiers marching forwards. Will they be using their suppressor volleys on their Gewehr 43 packages to really, you know, suppress the riflemen? In this case, of course, charge them through. I mean, suppressor volleys is not just for the defensive, it's also for the offensive, you know. Get the defenders to pop their heads down and make themselves a bit easier to close in on. But there we go. Scout car is repaired. Luftwaffe troops could also be pulled into the fight. That would certainly be a good move. I mean, they're not bad troops. They're just not Panzer Grenadiers. And the scout car has a damaged engine. Rifle moving in for the hunt. Luftwaffe troops moving forwards. Panzer Grenadiers sort of hanging about here, perhaps getting reinforced. Not good management of resources again. I mean, try to use your hotkeys, for example. There we go. F1, F2, F3, F4, and so on. Quite useful. And standing about with the scout car in front of all that. That's not a good engagement. Get out of there. And another engine damage. The other one getting repaired. This is not looking too good for our friend Atreya of the 17th SS.
The Yankees are grabbing our territory.
Americans pushing onwards on all sides. Riflemen charging forwards. Panzer Grenadiers firing. Scout cars firing as well. How shall this work out? Riflemen taking a few losses. In fact, taking some losses by the Luftwaffe troops again. And let's just get this across again. units doing anything like repairing, building, or something like that, they are easier targets. They take more damage and are easier to hit. So again, I mean, thus, these circumstances don't have them standing about repairing while the enemy is closing in. Use them to fight off the enemy. I mean, probably those Americans could have taken heavier losses had a trio bothered to stop repairing and taking those Luftwaffe troops into the fight. Instead, he slaughters 3 and are forced to retreat them. So again, such things actually bloody well matter. Scout car forced away, not looking too good. Other scout car also moving away. Both with logistic upgrades, but sadly no uses for them yet. One rifleman team almost down. And a panzer support company going up. Panzer grenades forced away. Scout car firing away. Other one making a retreat to the base. Panzer grenades setting up. Luftwaffe troops need reinforcements, and they could be sent in to repair that scout car. Further panzer grenades arriving. And the scout car mucking about, firing away. And what is going on here? A motor pool on the way as well. Good job then with the Panzer Support Command. And of course, that's probably what he's expecting, of course, since he's not seen any Browning automatic rifles. And again, if you're not seeing a Browning automatic rifle, you probably ought to be expecting an armored car. And apparently something nasty happened to this. I do know that was a sticky bomb, but sadly he was a bit preoccupied with sort of pointing out other bits. And for some reason they actually didn't damage the engine. That's a bit of a rarity, actually. There we go, Rifleman taking some losses and are forced into retreat. Not looking too good in terms of territory, though, for a trio. Not the most cohesive strategy or tactic at the moment. Again, you need to sort of keep the tactical bits in mind as well. Again, don't stand about out in the open and not do anything with your troops. You know, like repairing, fight, always fight. I mean, those Luftwaffe troops could certainly have helped, but no such luck. Scout cars securing some territory, it seems, thus preventing harassment. And fuel point, of course, has to be taken. And upgrade for the Panzer Support Command. Riflemen standing about. Veterans you want. Gewehr 43. Panzer grenades could deal with them, but apparently not. The 17th SS is feeling rather cautious. Engineers mucking about as well, laying down mines. That's a good move. And the motor pool flashing about. Riflemen advancing on the Kettenkrad. Will Panzer Grenadiers react to this threat posed by the American Yankee dogs? Scout car opening up on the riflemen who are advancing, providing nice cover for this point. Not a single suppressive volley though from the trio. That's a bit well said. And a sticky bomb on the Kettenkrad. Why oh why didn't you move it, Atreyu? Again, Atreyu seems to have a bit of a problem again with the sort of concept of unit preservation, and that is getting the devil out of there when there's absolutely nothing to be done. And of course also getting the most out of resources. Again, Luftwaffe ground troops are forces. They can fight and they can do a decent job if you know how to use them. So things have to be kept in mind. Scout car moving about, opening up on some engineers. And there we go, putting a stop to that nonsense. And a Hotchkiss light tank on the way. Apparently the 100th Panzer Replacement and Training Battalion has been called upon to provide some light armor, and the M8 is on the move as well. Scout car is in a bit of trouble though. M8 opening up on it. Scout car needs to get out of there, and by out of there I mean out of there now, please. Taking heavy damage. I fear this scout car might not make it. Panzer Grenadier is awfully close to a mine, standing out in the open. Rifleman charging ahead. Gewehr 43 is blazing. Good maneuver there, I suppose. Again, absolutely no attempt at using a single suppressive volley though by Atreyu. Could have stopped the flamethrower engineers and target those down. That's what they usually do, in fact. I mean, let's just briefly pause again. Suppressive volley, I mean, it's a rather selective suppressive ability, yes, but at the same time, that's the key. A bit like, you know, having the officer with his, you know, forced retreat or generally forced retreat, the propaganda war ability. It's a sort of thing where you can basically decide, I want to take that bit out of his defenses or his attack, you know, use it to nullify any priority targets among his forces or key units in his sort of plan. I mean, for example, engineers with flamethrowers, suppressive volley, suddenly they're not going to be much of a threat. Such things like that really can play a vital role, and also in the offensive, you know, when you're attacking, for example, if there's some very important infantry unit, like say some rangers with bazookas that might threaten your vehicles, suppressive volley, they're going to be less effective or something like that. I mean, try to keep such things in mind and sort of try to use a suppression not just on the defense, which is where it's primarily used, but also on the offense to keep the defenders' heads down, thus make it easier for you to close in. Back to the fight, Rifleman getting away, taking some losses, and the Hotchkiss facing off against the M8. The M8 having a bit of trouble with the thick armor of the light tank, getting hit in the rear, and Hotchkiss getting upgraded with the higher velocity gun. Interesting, and looks like further Hotchkiss light tanks are on the way. No further scout cars or no further infantry, seizing points right here. And Luftwaffe troops could be on the move. Kettenkrats could also be called in. And the Hotchkiss hits a mine. Second Hotchkiss is ready though, but again, he could be more active with his infantry, and I could probably suggest a more useful point for that, but let's not get stuck up at that. And let us go have a look at Brutal Bismarck of the 4th Infantry Division, who has gone for airborne, but hasn't called a single airborne thing in yet. Rifleman standing about. No upgrades for the supply yard. Nope, and no medic stations either. Though he does have sticky bombs. Rifleman hanging about there. Panzer Grenadiers also standing about. Not much happening. Hotchkiss getting repaired by the Luftwaffe troops. Other ones standing about. Not much activity again. Try to be active, even if it's just laying down, you know, sandbags or barbed wire. It's making a difference. And apparently further Luftwaffe troops being called in, but again, he's not achieving much with them. You know, move them about. And of course try to use them on the offense and the defense. They are basically Volksgrenadiers, just slightly less health, but they are still good. And Panzer Grenadiers out in the open. Oh no. And Riflemen are in fact retreating, even though they probably could have won this, but no. And Panzer Grenadiers run straight into the mine, taking heavy losses. But Hotchkiss moves in, gets the 50 caliber gunner.
Enemy unit down. And
a Panzer Grenadier dead. Further Hotchkiss is on the move. The M8 is in slight trouble there, I think. Engineers moving in to support. Riflemen facing off against the Luftwaffe troops. And Luftwaffe troops doing actually quite well, getting 3 riflemen before the riflemen are able to do anything. And the M8 goes out of control. Not the best fight for Brutal Bismarck.
We have territory cut off.
Riflemen running away. And apparently this Hotchkiss light tank has been equipped with the Wurfrahmen, the throwing frame. Supplying it with the heavy Nebelwerfer rockets. I do believe it's the 21 centimeter version. Or is it the 25? But nonetheless, those are basically Nebelwerfer rockets. I mean, it was called the Stärkeserfuss, but so was the Panzerfaust. So I'm suspecting that might have been a bit more of a case of gallows humor, which the German army was quite fond of. And Panzer Grenadiers marching towards the west. Interestingly enough, half the infantry is in fact composed of Luftwaffe troops. And Riflemen coming under fire again. No attempt at, for example, using a suppressive volley to make it easier for the Panzer Grenadiers to get close and do some damage. Instead, they take one loss on the assault. And Riflemen are moving in. Panzer Grenadiers taking heavy losses. And Riflemen coming under fire from Hotchkiss and Luftwaffe troops. And forced to retreat. Panzer Grenadiers making a run for it. And defensive operations up. Not the best reaction from a trio, I might add. And light anti-tank half-track ready. And a Kettenkrat, but the Kettenkrats are not getting used. Oh, a trio, you really need to get a bit more better control on your handling of your units. And of course coordination of them. Hotchkiss moves a bit too close to the rifleman with the sticky bombs, but there we go. Area cleared up. Send in that Kettenkrat and begin seizing points, my friend. Or should I say mein Freund, in a menacing tone. Riflemen advancing on the Luftwaffe troops who have gone defensive veterans here. I rather prefer getting offensive so they can hit a bit easier and fire a bit faster. But there we go, retreating though. And the Hotchkiss fires away. Well, though, apparently to cover this point. Not managing much though, as suspected. Kettenkrat still not doing anything to actually take points there. Come on, Kettenkrat. Under the command of a trio. Would be nice, and I do believe it is actually time for the mid-game analysis. Yes, indeed. What is the situation? Well, currently Atreyu does hold most of the territory, most of the victory points, and he does seem to hold the advantage, but at the same time, he sort of lacks the ability to really coordinate his troops, you know, use the abilities of, for example, the Panzer Grenadiers with the suppressive volley. That could certainly have won him a few fights, and of course, using the Luftwaffe troops could also certainly have won him a bit right there. Nice to see Hotchkiss light tanks. But I'd certainly also like to see some better, again, coordination, a bit more aggression. He seems to be a bit more hesitant, you know, not right away taking points. And he certainly could also have done for something like, I don't know, the Panzerjägerkommando or a Kampfgruppe Company, you know, just something a bit more. He could even have set up a Flak-Fehrling to perhaps, you know, provide some dominance of this central area, making it much harder for the American infantry to move about. But sadly not. Our American friend, on the hand, isn't doing too well. Though he is getting supplied upgrades, he's taking some losses. The Hotchkiss is proving a bit of a problem, but then again, an anti-tank gun, perhaps some airborne with recoilless rifles, can easily prove to be their foil. But apparently, no, he is getting snipers. Brutal Bissamrat is calling upon the snipers to put some shots through those Panzer Grenadiers' poor heads. So we'll of course have to see how this will work out, but he really needs to get a move on. Of course, he needs to sort of exploit the fact that Atreo is a bit more hesitant and lacking a bit that tactical coordination. Though he does seem to have a good idea of strategy and, of course, beating the snot out of the armies. But there we go, sniper ready. Luftwaffe troops reinforcing, Panzer Grenadiers moving out, apparently to seize territory rather than the Kettenkraut which you produced. Oh, Atreo, you silly little fool. You don't use Panzer Grenadiers when you have a Kettenkraut standing about doing absolutely nothing, mate. And Luftwaffe troops getting sniped, coming under fire from riflemen, retreating. And the Hotchkiss does nothing, the Panzer Grenadiers do nothing as well. Most distressing, Atreo. Would have thought you'd watch my casts since you send in. And there we go. Taking quite a bit of damage out on the American infantry. Even one airborne who dropped down with the anti-tank gun was killed. Anti-tank half-tank not managing much. Panzer Grenadiers here not doing anything. Apparently there was a misclick and sadly not happening again. Atreo isn't really paying attention.
Strategic sector.
And not really managing much. And again standing about with infantry which could have been pushed forward. He could have used his Kettenkraut, but instead he's using his Panzer Grenadiers, which is a lot less effective. Sniper advancing. Hotchkiss firing, and anti-tank gun moving forwards, not wanting to stand in one spot. That's a good move. Still manages to get hit because the Hotchkiss is a bit inaccurate, but not taking a lot of damage. Kettenkraut moving forwards, and the sniper gets spotted. Will we be seeing any focused fire from the anti-tank half-track? Apparently not. Atreo feels stiff otherwise. But riflemen do get shot. Luftwaffe troops moving in. Hotchkiss is also opening up. And another sticky bomb on the Kettenkraut. Again, Atreo, that could have been avoided. Again, had you been using it properly. And now his Panzer Grenadiers are standing about. Tisk, tisk, Atreo, tisk, tisk. Some losses for our American friend, though. The anti-tank gun is still there, but he needs a bit more of a coordinated assault. Luftwaffe troops getting sniped. Veteran T2 riflemen on the move. Luftwaffe troops on the retreat. Anti-tank gun firing.
Losing ground out.
Another Hotchkiss upgraded with the Wurfrahmen. And howling away. I wager that anti-tank gun will not be quite happy. And there we go, cleared out. Riflemen out in the open, getting shot apart by Luftwaffe troops and light tanks. Even the anti-tank half-track is proving a bit of a bastard. Sniper though firing away for great justice. And now we see an attempt at a tank depot. Some heavy armor, which of course the Hotchkiss light tanks will be having a bit of a problem with. And the anti-tank gun absolutely wrecked. Rifleman advancing, could get off a sticky bomb. Could get it off, and apparently the wreck of the Kettenkraut is actually cloaked. That's a bit more unusual. But I suppose not impossible. Although they are certainly going to have a bit of difficulty then finding the corpse of the driver. And now calling in the Wirbelwind Flakpanzer. Slightly more produced than the Ostwind, equipped with a Flak-Fehrling. Not the most produced though of the Panzer IV Flak-Panzers. That was the Möbelwagen, which had both the Flak-Fehrling mount and of course the 37mm single gun mount, although it had a bit more of a boxy sort of turret, with the sides being able to sort of be put down to find ground targets. Engineers getting fired upon, Wirbelwind and Hotchkiss firing away, sniper moving about. Not much in reality that Brutal Bismarck can really do to react, I feel. No airborne with recoilless rifles, but looks like the tank depot is up, and looks like Brutal Bismarck might be hoping for something to come out there, but sadly he might have had the initiative, but he sort of squandered it away. And not pushing enough, and sadly not pushing enough from different angles. He sort of went through the same spot right here. Again, this sort of bang your head against the wall approach until the wall falls apart. And sadly, against a competent player, it's not really going to work.
We're losing a strategic sector.
Point being secured by the Panzergrenadiere. Riflemen hanging about there while the Wirbelwind moving in to intercept. And there we go, Rifleman caught out in the open. Dirt kicked about, and a scout car also moving in. And Rifleman quite on the run. Rifleman hiding in here for some apparent reason. Engineers laying down mines again. And there we go, a Hellcat on the way, though the Hellcat a bit more vulnerable. And could in fact end up being knocked out by this combination, even though it's not the strongest. And apparently going for a Flak 88, apparently calling upon the Luftwaffe to provide some of its own anti-aircraft assets. Nasty that. And that's certainly going to prove a bit of a problem for that tank destroyer.
Fuel point is being seized.
We'll of course have to see how that works out, but something tells me not very well. Let's in fact speed things up a bit. Charging forwards. Whoops, a bit too far away.
Forward supply lines are broken.
And Rifleman coming under fire. Luftwaffe troops and the anti-tank half-track firing away. Any focused fire? No. Again, Atreyu doesn't really seem keen on using it, sadly. And the M18 Hellcat comes under heavy fire. And of course the crack of the flak has of course alerted him to its presence, and of course the fact that if he moves too far ahead, he's going to have his head blown off. So apparently calling in an anti-tank gun. Not perhaps the best reaction, again knowing there's a lot of artillery being directed against any sort of static positions like that. A mortar might have been a key, but then again more aggression early on and some more steadward defenses would have been nice. But again, no such luck.
Americans are seizing territory from us.
Tank destroyer not getting repaired. Anti-tank grenades being prepared for the Panzer Grenadiers. An anti-tank gun firing away, but of course it's going to make itself a nice target. Sniper firing away. Panzer Grenadiers down. Apparently 4-man teams now, and there we go. Hotchkiss Delight being prepared and fired. Anti-tank gun is the target. Flak 88 fires away as well. And the Hotchkiss number 2 fires away, again hoping to get that anti-tank gun. Will it succeed? Yes indeed, the anti-tank gun is absolutely wrecked, and now the Hellcat without repairs moves forward as well, trying to put together this absolutely ailing assault. And then knocked out. A bit of what to be expected.
Good job, squad. Keep it up.
In fact, let's call it a day and say that was it. I mean, this is pretty much game over, and yes indeed this is a bit of a short game, so I might supply another one and turn this into operation. In fact, I think I will. In which case I can supply one of my own, which is a bit more higher level, a bit more aggressive, a bit more interesting perhaps for some other players. So, operation, oh I don't know. I'll find up an operation, come up with an operation name for the next one. Anyways, cheers, and of course what can we learn from this? Well, again, you know, be aggressive, coordinate your troops, suppressive volleys, use them when you have them, focused fire. use it when you bloody well have it. Mines, nice. Again, coordinate your movements, you know, don't just charge in. That lost him a scout car, Mr. Atreyu. Well, I mean, we saw some generally just Atreyu reacting, good countering of pretty much everything that Brutal Bismarck threw at him. And Brutal Bismarck was sadly not really able to come up with any surprises. He sort of stuck to a rather rote plan and, well, got, well, absolutely stomped. So there you go, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, why not subscribe and tell your friends, but of course stay tuned for the next game. Cheers! Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second match of this operation, Operation Second Win. Yes, indeed, highly original name. But there we go, of course, quickly decided, well, rather than just show this one very short game I previously just thought would be enough, I sort of figured, well, let's just get another short game I have, lighter rank, sort of figuring for some sort of operation cast again. And of course, here we are. So second match, this time a 1 versus 1 on Semois. Yes, indeed, I feel it's about time we got back to Semois after having gotten heavily overloaded on Semois previously a few weeks back, but nonetheless here we are, returned to the darkness of Semois. Skies all darkened, it is night, the Germans are attacking. Following up on the success of some of the parts of the 17th SS, a larger force is being sent in to deliver a sundering and crippling blow to the 4th Infantry Division, so we already have the forces sort of edged up. Americans versus Wehrmacht, 17th SS Panzergrenadier Division versus 4th Infantry Division. Good show, all that. Still find that a bit funny, that repent right there. And of course, Semois, rather interesting map, sort of divided into the 3 compartments. The fuel points right next to the one, at least the most important one, right next to the bases, of course, meaning they'll probably get harassed in some form or manner. At the same time, you sort of have this small village right in the center of everything, where most of the fighting also tends to take place. Of course, it can be a bit difficult. The cemetery sometimes gets completely untouched, other times completely desecrated and turned upwards. Of course, there are buildings which can provide some nice positions for machine guns, although the church tends to be the best position. Some people also tend to stick infantry in it, but the church, for some reason, well, all those windows for the most part do no good, so it's really not good for infantry. It's better for machine guns, Panzerschrecks, Panzer stuff like that, and snipers, not really, you know, regular chaps that actually need to use their rifles. Of course, another feature are these 2 points right here, these sort of entry points from the bases, and you also risk usually someone trying to pull off a pin here, which is not unusual. And of course, we've seen players like Romuslay, of course, immediately then just take here through there and sort of try to break out, and of course forcing the opponent away from its nice pin position, and of course spreading him out. That of course is one of the keys to winning, sort of, if your opponent is sort of strong in one position, force them outwards, force them to spread out. But nonetheless, let us get right down to it. Of course, this has to be a bit fast. No mid-game analysis here. There my quarters up, and yes, this is me. Had a short game, felt like could use it for something interesting, and opposing me is Coolman CN, who was a level 12 American commander. Second pioneer team on the way, heading westwards. From the Americans, more engineers as well. We won't be seeing the 1 engineer start, although that of course is interesting to note. When it does happen, barracks going up. There my quarters the same so far, nothing unusual. Engineers sort of moving outwards, very cautiously with their M3 grease guns. Volksgrenadiers on the way, and yes, I usually go for the 2 Volksgrenadier start, then an MG42, perhaps a bike depending on the situation, but usually I always get 2 Volksgrenadier teams right off the bat, because 2 Volksgrenadier teams are a nice combination, they're nice fluid, and of course 1 Volksgrenadier team isn't very good, but 2, they actually make a decent force. And Volksgrenadiers are basically things that need to work with something else to work. And of course, if I just go with front Volksgrenadier and then 1 MG42, you risk sort of the MG42 quickly getting flanked or something else happening. For example, the Volksgrenadier is getting beaten, and then suddenly you have an MG42 all by its own. At least that's my experience, so that's why I go for the dual infantry start. Then I get an MG42 to then sort of support what I actually have on the field, which is rather how I prefer to work. Then of course I get a 3rd Volksgrenadier team usually, although again that can sort of change. And right here laying down some barbed wire again to sort of protect this fuel point, usually to ensure that the barbed wire ends within the arc of the bunker, so if anyone tries to sneak in and not cut the wire, they're running straight into the MG. Volksgrenadiers heading towards the center, Engineers swiftly securing this point, in fact, and then heading towards the west, where riflemen are also making a move. Interestingly enough, not heading towards the center, whereas I'm sort of expecting something to arrive from this area, because again, I can't really see, but I can see, if we turn on the fog of war, that something's happened here, so I'm sort of expecting, well, he's trying to ambush me, isn't he? Apparently not. And thus I figure perhaps he's moving towards the south here. I'm not sort of figuring most of his forces will be up there. And a jeep has arrived, but I do believe I can actually hear that one, so I'm sort of learning that, wait, there's a jeep here, what could this mean? And there we go, moving in from north. No, it's moving away. Interestingly enough, for the moment, of course, I'm racked in now, because I'm sort of figuring, well, the fighting must be here then. And no, the point haven't been taken at all. In which case, of course, I'm quickly moving away, since I don't want to force troops away from this area if the enemy might come from the north then. Of course, that's sort of the things you have to keep aware of. Where can the enemy possibly come from? And what could he gain from coming from there? And now the jeep moving in, trying to do a bit of moving about, pushing the Volksgrenadiers around. Slightly sneaky trick, but of course 2 Volksgrenadier teams are against 1 jeep is of course an advantage to you. And of course the jeep is getting quite a bit shot off. Riflemen arriving right here, taking up position in the heavy cover, and again heavy cover is directional. What can you do? Well, of course you can flank them, taking up positions here, thus getting you some shots from their side right there. Of course some might be turning away, but still you should be able to get some good shots, and then focusing down the jeep to get that away. Of course the Volksgrenadiers slightly abandoned their cover, which was quite less fortunate, but still focusing down the riflemen. The jeep can go play with itself for now. Will be getting repaired by the engineers. In the meanwhile, focusing down the riflemen again, flanking them, hitting them from several sides, thus giving me a slight advantage. And the riflemen are swiftly losing health and men. MG42 also arriving, ready to protect. And this first engagement certainly looks to be to my advantage, although Volksgrenadiers are now getting rushed by some riflemen in the west. MG42, Maschinengewehr 46 setting up. And there we go, riflemen under fire, others are retreating, and a full retreat from the center now by the American forces. A slight heated engagement right there. An attempt to push through, but sadly it did not quite work out for him. In the meanwhile, of course, taking this point, cutting me off from this area, and forces will have to be dispatched to clear this out, actually. Lest I lose that to the Americans, of course, sort of end up with only a small grip in the central area. And now the jeep moves in, coming under a bit of fire again. Very bold with his jeep, constantly moving about, harassing. Engineers and pioneers fighting off here in the east. Volksgrenadiers trying to hunt down that jeep. And a third Volksgrenadier team arriving, while in the meanwhile engineers are moving about here, and my pioneers are moving through here. Missing each other, pioneers retreating. Riflemen moving in after the jeep, MG42 hiding here. And some riflemen are waiting for some of their comrades to get fully reinforced and ready for the fight. And a full retreat from here. The jeep trying to get out of there. Volksgrenadiers moving in from the west. Skirmish phase on the way. And the jeep makes it out of there. Hooray! And taking away this point from the glorious fatherland. Most vicious and Browning automatic rifles have already been researched within 5 minutes. Volksgrenadiers under fire, forced retreat, pulling back to the MG42 at least. Perhaps to lure in the riflemen. Barbed wire trying to lay down to sort of protect this area from any sort of advances. Again, sort of minimize the amount of approaches he can actually make. I mean, if he can attack from several points, he might actually be able to outmaneuver that MG42. On the other hand, if he's forced to come through their spot, it's going to be a lot more easy to get off a good few gut shots there. And for some reason, I don't really get that one. He's using in both 2 riflemen teams to basically occupy the MG42, which is in heavy cover. That's, had it been in light cover and he in heavy cover, it could have worked, but sadly not. And already there, his troops are getting suppressed. And meanwhile, riflemen are moving through there, but this was a less well thought out assault, I might add. At least in my opinion. Riflemen taking losses. Quite a few, in fact, and are forced to retreat. Less than effective. Engineers moving through here, and of course, forgetting their barbed wire there, they run into the MG42 bunker. Creep barracks going up, and our American friend now with a weapon support center. Actually, quite interesting. We'll of course have to see where it goes for. And now, apparently, having ignored this munitions point, he's now going for it. And of course, I cut him off from these points, so now he's trying to get it back, which is strangely enough understandable enough. Volksgrenadiers is trying to deal with these riflemen while others are laying down that barbed wire again. Volksgrenadiers opening up on the riflemen, although the Volksgrenadiers are not looking too good. Riflemen getting into the building, and the Volksgrenadiers getting away. A bit of attempted harassment on my fuel right there by some engineers, who did cut through the wire finally, but are now getting shot up and dead. That's the ticket. Something going on in the weapon support center. Could be a mortar, could be a sniper. Riflemen moving through in the south, apparently not fully reinforced. Just cool man CN. Is that part of your plan, or did you make a mistake right there? I do hope it's part of a plan. Otherwise you're going to get a nasty surprise. And Jeep under fire. No doctrinal choice as of yet. MG42 hiding up there. Again, once I sort of figured will be ARs. He's probably going for a lot of riflemen then. But no, apparently he's not. Instead he is going for the weapon support center and a mortar. That indeed is a bit unusual, but certainly it's going to be able to get a nasty surprise on me and my MG42s. Half track on the way though. Keep moving about. Coming under fire from the MG42 hiding in here. Nice building. This is in fact good broadside here for anyone in the town. And with an MG42 you can cover pretty much the rest. Even rifles here can be pretty decent. So a good building overall, but now coming under a mortar fire. Engagement right here in the south, riflemen in the building. Others need to get out of there as the Volksgrenadiers converge on this position. Other Volksgrenadiers out in the open, taking some losses, but Blitzkrieg is chosen and assault. Going to force those Americans out, and there we go. And while they might have avoided the assault grenades, instead they expose themselves to the Volksgrenadiers outside and are forced to retreat, taking further losses in the process. MG42 needs to get away from the frightfully dangerous mortar fire. And the half track has arrived to support, although the 17th SS Panzer Division actually didn't have any armored half tracks. It actually mostly had trucks and bicycles, but then again, one could imagine they might have bartered themselves to one, stolen one, or just found one, who knows. Things had a bit of a tendency of being chaotic. Rifleman now taking up position right here to deny it to my MG42, and again cover his direction on my MG42 versus this rifleman is not going to be too well, since the rifleman will be nicely protected. The MG42 against a BAR, not quite as much. But half-track moves in to force away the mortar, and myself getting a mortar of my own. While the Jeep is sort of mucking about here, not entirely sure what to do, it seems. One MG42 gunner down, not looking too well. Riflemen advancing, engineers with flamethrowers. Half-track setting up to allow the MG42 to reinforce. Volksgrenadiers moving through here, and riflemen engineers charging through here again. Apparently forgetting there's an MG42, or perhaps, of course, he might have thought I only had one. And there we go, grenades. Actually, that's certainly a bold approach. The infantry heavy with lots of support approach. MG42 taking heavy losses, but so are the Americans. MG42 on the retreat, flamethrower taking up position there. Volksgrenadier getting burned quite a bit. Assault phase is completed. The Jeep is sort of standing about. Riflemen fighting off the MG42 and mortar, now ready to bombard the riflemen in there, taking heavy losses. They need to retreat. So do these riflemen? No, the riflemen did not make it out of there. They are dead on arrival, apparently dropping a BAR behind the house. And the engineers are now forced on the retreat as well. The American approach has slightly gone less than expected for him, I imagine. A bit too keen on the sort of direct approach and not trying to attack from enough angles. Of course, and he probably might have wanted to wait until that mortar was ready to provide some bombardment on my positions while it all went on, or perhaps dropping some smoke so he could get that MG42 straight on. I mean, again, if you really feel the need to make a direct assault across open ground, drop some smoke first to protect the assault troops. Otherwise, you're basically asking to get your troops massacred. Riflemen moving through in the south. Engineers and riflemen through here. Something further from the weapon support, and in fact it's time to have a look at Cool Man C now, getting a sniper. Scharfschütze. A bit of engagement right here. Volksgrenadier is laying down some barbed wire. Mortar turning about to deal with the American threat from the south, and the riflemen rather realizing they can't get past this barbed wire. They are not engineers. The Volkswagen is flying away from this house and keeping the riflemen occupied while the mortar aims in on them, and the riflemen pull out in time, it seems. Quite fortunate, while another assault moves in from the north. Could be some mortar support finally.
Germans are seizing enemy unit.
And a pioneer team was lost. Sadly, one that was actually meant to crew the guns on the half-track. Much to my distress. Engineers taking up position. Riflemen getting bombarded by their own mortars. Less than great, to put it frankly. Riflemen not looking too well either, getting suppressed. Engineers getting bombarded by the German mortar. MG42 advancing. And what is this? The sniper is arriving. Engineer team lost. Quite heavy losses for our friend Coolman CN. Certainly has a bit of manpower that could be used. Mortar rounds flying. And a rifleman team flanking in through here. Sneaky that. Continuing through this route, which is actually a good move, and then getting the drop on my mortar team. I had not expected that. And the sniper immediately opening up, but missing. And assault grenades being used against the rifleman right here, through the windows. Getting stunned, damaged, and taking losses while the MG42 fires away. Another MG42 retreating. Rifleman getting out of there and running away. Running past the houses, thus avoiding most Wehrmacht fire. Mortar setting up. Sniper needs to consider getting away. And the half-track has in fact been upgraded to a flamethrower half-track. And it fires away. Fires away. Come on. It's barely doing any damage to a team in cover, which is rather where flamethrowers are the most effective. I mean, that's a bit of the problem with the flamethrower vehicles in the game. For some reason, they have a very curious set of accuracy things. So, I mean, you can risk, for example, like in this case, they burn away constantly and then hit absolutely nothing. Assault grenades, grenades getting lobbed, exchanged, flamethrower also joining in. And the rifleman all of a sudden taking heavy losses to the assault grenades, even the flamethrower doing a bit. Bike now moving in, hoping to catch a sniper, but there isn't a sniper. And he's not right away. He's in fact moving about here in the north. Quite a bit of manpower being floated though. He has gone infantry, but not much uses. Mortar team cleared out. No rangers, no anything. And I'm rather with a clear idea of where the sniper is. And what does the sniper do? Does he retreat? No, he runs into a building, which is the last place you want to be when there's a half-track with two flamethrowers mounted on it. This is definitely not one of the brightest decisions of the war. So there we go, burned alive. That's a bit tragic, in fact. But Rangers have arrived, quite a bit of munitions ready. Still some infantry left, although very, very little. Not looking good for our American friend. Mortar could end up being recruited. And what is this? Sturmgeschütz on the way. Riflemen, mortar team. Of Volkswagen, I mean. Pioneers. Officer, yes indeed. Wanting to try and get as much out of him. Of course, I have to constantly use him to see what sort of uses he has. And so on. Rangers moving in, and that bike's going to be in a bit of trouble. Bike needs to get away. Flamethrower half-track also. Bike knocked out. Volkswagen covering the retreat. Some with MP40, some with rifles. Rangers running straight into the fire. That's generally not good for your health. Getting shot to bits. In fact, grenades getting lobbed at the Volkswagen. Oh dear. Some losses. Riflemen retreating right. And getting shot up. Mortar number 2 now under command as the Wehrmacht as well. And this American assault quickly turned sour. Forced into a rather swift retreat on all sides. The other mortar advancing a bit as well. Good show. And the officer providing an inspiring example at the front. Always good that.
Tell us where the killings are.
No attempt at actually upgrading the Rangers with submachine guns. That could actually help. Some riflemen getting reinforced. The other Rangers are apparently not, but still. Submachine guns, come on. They could increase the firepower drastically. Officers standing about, trying to take the point. Getting fired at by the Rangers. Pulling back. Volksgrenadier down. And mortar rounds beginning to fly down on the American assault. Still no attempt at using those munitions, for example, against submachine guns. Volksgrenadiers pulling away. Bazooka rockets flying, hitting the Stug. Flamethrower firing away, actually doing some damage to the Rangers. One on fire, trying to jump into the river, but only makes it just as he dies. A bit unfortunate that. And a light engagement right here. Engineers with flamethrowers facing off against several Volksgrenadiers. And how will this go? Apparently the Volksgrenadiers are brutally burned. My goodness, it's an absolute massacre. Only one survives. And Volksgrenadiers with assault grenades decide then to take the more safe approach and just dig them out with grenades. Getting the engineers out with a more swift approach, trying to take all the other points, which of course will force me to rather try it out. And that's actually probably what I should have been doing earlier. When he actually had troops and resources to get away with it, he should have been trying to force me out of my strong position here in the center. Instead, he kept attacking, suffering losses. I mean, not quite as good. Again, that's sort of the problem with the bang your head against a wall approach. It's not really going to work all the time. And yes, getting some grenadiers with MG42 again. Forced to once more sort of try to re-evaluate them, firing away. Will they be doing anything? Mortar rounds flying. 1 kill so far for the Grenadier team, despite having increased firepower. So far, no impressive results, despite having one of the most powerful weapons in the Wehrmacht and getting hit by their own mortars. And there we go, game over. The 4th Infantry Division, having realized that after 2 failures in 1 day, they have to pull out of the area. A victory for the 17th SS. So there you go. And what can we learn from this second game? Well, again, don't try to bang your head against a wall. I mean, it's only going to give you a concussion. In this case, heavy losses for your infantry. I mean, had he probably been trying to attack from more different points, south, east, west, you know, the more at points you can attack from, the harder it's going to be for your opponent to sort of really concentrate and, of course, get the MGs on the spots that need it. And, of course, with grenades, it becomes even more acute because one rifleman slips through grenade and all of a sudden you have heavy losses. Part of your defense completely crumbles. Flamethrowers also applies and so on. I mean, the mortar could have been used as well, you know, to cover one of the main approaches with smoke. So really there was a lot of good opportunity here from the Americans to really do some damage to me, but sadly they didn't quite come through. Instead, there were flamethrowers, Sturmgeschütz, Volksgrenadier, and even the officer, Lieutenant Gottlieb, as always, providing something for the Wehrmacht effort. So there you go, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, why not subscribe or tell your friends or anyone, and if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers.